everyone. This is News Now. I'm Joanna Juvelis, and joining me today are Wes Chin from Belmont's Health Department. He's the director, and Barrie Brian. She is a Belmont recovery coach. And they're joining me today to talk about the Belmont Recovery Program. Thank you for coming on the show.
Happy to be here.
Thanks so much for having us, Joanna.
You're welcome. Wes, why don't we start with you? Can you give some background about the Belmont Recovery Program and how it came to be?
Sure, yeah. So last winter, we partnered with the Winchester Health Department to conduct community needs assessments in each town. And the purpose of these needs assessments were to figure out how best to allocate funding that each community has received from the state to address opioids. And so we sent the survey or information about the survey out to every household in Belmont, and we received 574 responses. And from this information that we gathered, we determined some key areas to focus on using the funding for. And one of the areas that was determined as a need was navigating a way to attain care for substance use disorders. And so we consulted with a public health consultant who suggested developing a recovery coaching program. And from there, we um, got in touch with Barrie Brian, who's here with us today, to develop Belmont's own recovery coaching program to offer um, a way to connect residents um, with supports and services in their journey to recovery from opioids, alcohol, or any other substances.
Thank you, Wes. Do you have any stats about opioid use in Belmont currently?
Well, we partner with the police department and the fire department, and we do know that there are calls for emergency response for overdoses that do occur in town. The town does unfortunately experience on average 1 to 2 fatal overdoses per year as well.
No, that is too bad. Well, Barrie, why don't we introduce you now? Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you became a recovery coach.
Thanks, Joanne. So I am a Winchester resident, and I am a mom. I'm a woman in long-term recovery. A couple of years ago, I'll add that my son also has struggled with opioid use disorder for a number of years. And so I personally have participated in seeking help and getting a lot of help to support myself and him through this process. And recently, I made a career transition to start focusing on this work because the families primarily are a really underserved need in the community, and they're a major source of prevention strategy when the parents are educated and informed and have resources and connection to other parents in a similar situation. So that's where my backdrop is. I went into Winchester a couple of years ago and said, well, how are you spending your opioid remediation funds? And they started working with Belmont, as Wes pointed out, doing the surveys and getting the data they needed to make sure the town's input was sought. And then we sat down and built out a program. I built it in Winchester first and then brought a very similar program over to Belmont. And what the program focuses on is resources, Narcan, recovery coaches, and support people who can help people when they're struggling. We also have scholarships that we offer that we've designed to be able to help people, assist people in early recovery, get into sober living or a program with some financial assistance from the town. We also have grants that are designed for families who maybe there's a child with a parent who has either been lost to opioid addiction or is just impacted, and the child could use support, or the family could use support. So we have grants for families as well. So we designed all of that. We partnered with stakeholders, like Wes mentioned, with the police department and the fire department, and are continuing to build out those relationships. And we built a set of resources. They're posted on the Belmont website, and we also have things that we can hand out and bring to people, along with Narcan kits, to just make people feel equipped with the knowledge and the information they need. Primarily, there's a lot of stigma and shame with asking for help, especially around addiction. And so one of the main goals I personally have, but I think the town also has, is to lower the barrier a little bit, make it more available and spoken about, and understood that people need help. And then we, in turn, are in a position with the funds, the opioid abatement funds that Wes mentioned. They're designed for this. The case was won so that money could get out to the states and into the communities to get to the people who are in the most need, right? So that was their way of remediating those funds.
Thank you, Barry. So if I'm a Belmont resident and I'm in need of help, or I know someone else who is in need of help, what are the steps that I would need to take to get the services offered from this recovery program, and to get a recovery coach like you, Barry?
Well, the individual and families, we have resources for both. I'm a family recovery coach as well as an individual recovery coach, and they can reach out to Wes's office is one way. They may come to us through contact with the police or fire department or other people in the town and ask for help, and then they would be hopefully directed to us. There's also on the website a place where all sorts of resources for getting help, including how to contact the recovery coaches, listed. So those are three ways. I don't know, Wes, are there other ways that we could make sure people are aware? We're trying to be more visible. We're hopefully going to be at different events like farmers markets and maybe CPR training and that kind of thing, just so people get familiar with the fact that we're available and in the community. But Wes, did I miss anything there?
Yeah, actually, Barry, I'd just like to highlight the informational resource postcards that you created for us. The information on how to directly contact Barry and our
Mm-hmm.
two other recovery coaches is included on those cards. There's also information on the town's website, but it's probably easiest for people to reach out and call us directly, and then we can direct them to Barry and the others for help.
And I'll add one more thing. At the police department, they typically have somebody who's called like a co-responder, a clinician within the department. And so a lot of times for mental health and substance use issues that arise, the police department, will bring that person with them, or they'll have a, follow up with the people in the community that maybe are having a struggle. So they can, in the case of somebody needing a recovery coach, also refer to us directly. And while I'm describing that, there are three of us, actually. There's myself, there's Tommy Cacavaro, is a male recovery coach. And then there's another woman who's a member of the coalition. I wrote it down. I don't know the name of the coalition off the top of my head, but she has some time dedicated as well to the Belmont community as a recovery coach. And her name is Erin Lubian. So there's three of us all together. I tend to take the lead. So if somebody reaches out to me and there's somebody else I think that'd be better suited to talk to, I will direct them. But otherwise, I usually take the lead on families and women in need of help or support.
That's great. So, do you have any success stories? I know you can't give me, share information about the people you help, but maybe you can kind of share a success story without sharing any personal information.
I do have a success story recently. A family did reach out to me, and they were struggling with a child, and they had some history and some efforts in recovery, and the family was somewhat at a loss. And for the most part, I think I was able to provide like understanding, and connection and support to them, but also some resources and ideas. And so we more or less like brainstormed, and I got them hooked up with a online family support group, and they are making progress. It's a few steps forward. then a couple back sometimes with this particular disease of addiction. But I think families being informed and supported and focusing on their own recovery and wellness goes a long way toward somebody being able to help their loved one or their child. So that's the ideal situation, and we do have that success story.
Thank you. And Wes, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think I'd like to add that I think measuring success, obviously there's individual success, but also community success. As word has gotten out about the recovery coaching program that Barry's leading, we've had more people from the community look for help from Barry and Tommy and Aaron. So it's really just, us being here is just spreading the word, and hopefully encouraging people to seek assistance from us if they feel comfortable.
Mm. I had one instance where somebody in Winchester reached out to me, and they had somebody in their family in Belmont. So it was a nice, opportunity to kind of triangulate a little bit there. But there have been a number of dollars put out in scholarship support already this year. And if you think about it, we started in July. So we're definitely making traction. And I think, again, making help more accessible, and also more people be more comfortable with asking for it, because it's there to support them.
Yeah. Why do you think people hesitate to get help?
First of all, I think a lot of times, I'll speak for a family, people don't know where to turn. They don't know who to ask. It's a very complicated landscape in terms of finding the right resources to get help and to get the right help for their family member. Um, and I would say the same is true for an individual who's just starting out trying to figure out how to get help. If there's help to be had, where to find the right help. But I think, moreover, and one of the things I'm really happy about being a part of this for, is that, there is no shame, and it's a mental health issue, and it's an epidemic, and a lot of people are dying, right? And so the more we can reduce the sense of shame or stigma that goes along with being addicted to a substance or having a loved one, I guess as a mom who has gone through this, I'll say, it can be really challenging to be around other friends, and, oh, my daughter's going to college, or my son's getting married, and you're sitting there with a loved one who's having trouble due to this addiction and this disease. And sometimes it's just not something people understand. And it is cunning, baffling, and insidious. It is a disease that's difficult to understand unless you've faced it. So that's why I think it makes it more difficult for people to raise their hand and say, I need help. I think there's that. So that's what we're really working hard at reducing. Um, some people like myself are very comfortable talking openly and publicly about it, because they and I know that that's how people do recover, in the programs where people do recover, the 12-step programs and that kind of thing. The way people recover is by being able to talk to another person who's an alcoholic or is struggling with addiction, and that opens the conversation up. And so that's what I'm trying to help with in the community. I also would like to add that Belmont makes Narcan available to all of its community members. And not only that, but recommends that community members have it in their house or nearby, because one thing is true, and that's that the drug supply is poisoned and tainted. And so sometimes somebody could be taking something innocently that isn't an opioid and find that there's fentanyl in it, as many of you have probably heard. So we have Narcan kits available for people to come and get. There's no cost, and they're in a beautiful Belmont bag that you can just bring home with you.
Well, thank you, Barry. That's very good to know.
Can I actually just add one thing too, Joanna?
Sure.
All right. So the other thing to mention is we've been partnering with the fire department to offer community CPR, Narcan, and Stop the Bleed trainings. And firefighters are working to provide important life-saving skills to community members free of charge. So just to be aware, to anyone that's watching, that may be interested in this class, to look out for a sign up, and hopefully we can get you into it.
So, in addition to the Belmont Recovery Program, what else would you like people to know?
So I think it's worth highlighting an effort um, in conjunction with the school department and the fire department. Last week, with the help of Beth Rumley, the head of school nursing for Belmont Public Schools, we were able to offer a CPR, Narcan, and Stop the Bleed training led by the Belmont Fire Department. And there were 25 high school students who became certified in CPR and Narcan administration. We've heard since then that there's a waiting list of over 50 students who would like to also become trained in these life-saving skills, and a number of school staff have also expressed interest. So we're going to continue to work with the fire department and the school department to make these classes available.
I'm glad that Belmont Media can help get the word out about your program. I want to thank you both for coming on today.
Thank
Yeah,
you for having us. This was
yeah.
great. This was
Thank
great.
you, Joanna. We
Appreciate it.
appreciate the support.